or a larger kid and have him box a younger kid, a smaller kid. But he would always have been teaching the younger kids how to box, and the older kids would never really know how to box. So I was paired with this little guy who had been taught how to box, and I never had boxed in my life. On the other hand, I had played judo. I had learned judo when I was younger, and DeBias knew that, and he said when he started this fight between us, he said, whatever you do, don't use judo, right? You just have to box, right? And so I never had boxed in my life, but I tried doing this, and the little kid was like a bee or a hornet's nest. He was just hitting like that, right? And I was being hit, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to. And at just one point, I just got in on him, picked him up, and threw him on the ground. And the kids in the room just stepped back because they knew I had disobeyed a direct order. And DeBias said, look, I'm going to teach you something. And he put on his own boxing gloves, and he came into the ring with me. And he said, I'm going to teach you how to win and how to lose. And he started punching me. But the punches weren't to knock me out. They were more to humiliate me. And this then went on every day, I think 1 week, 2 weeks, something. And at some point, I was walking to the mess hall, I think, to the place for dinner. And I met Donald. And he asked me how I was doing. And I told him about what had been going on in the barracks, what Major DeBias had been having me do. And Donald said, well, I bet you'd like that to stop. And I said, yes, I would very much like that to stop. So Donald said, well, I'll have a word with him. So I think at that point it was around the Easter vacation. And we went home, and when I came back, I found myself moved. I was no longer in Wright Hall with Major DeBias. I had been moved to the main barracks, well out of DeBias's way. Whether or not whether Donald said anything to him and this changed it, or whatever he did or didn't do, somehow it changed. And I guess I would like to imagine that he did really try to help me with this.
ドバイヤさんというのはトランプにとってすごい影響力のあった、ね、かなり影響を受けたと思うんですけども、ドバイヤさんというのは生徒たちがどういうことをどういうこう教えを生徒たちにするこう影響力のある人だったんでしょうか。
Not only Mr. Vice influenced Donald Trump, but I think a lot of the cadets got some more influence by his teaching. What
By DeBias's teachings?
Yeah,
or?
yes, right.
Right.
So what do you think about his teaching? I mean, how he was, how he taught to the cadets and...
Well, aside from teaching us the military drills and everything like that, I think he genuinely was interested in having us learn, but it was his own way of understanding about learning. So for instance, in the main hall in Wright Hall, he put up these plaques on the wall, and the plaques had proverbs on them, had wise words on them. And I know he had a professional artist do them because they were, they're expensive to do, but he did that. And there must have been 40 or 50 of these plaques. And many of them were actually paired. So you'd have one plaque, they would be, say, for instance, about winning in sports. So one would say, when the great scorer comes to write against your name, he writes not whether you won or lost, but how you played the game. Right next to it was a sign that said, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. So these signs, and many, many others, seemed to me to be really contradictory. And I didn't understand why he put up signs that were, which one do you want me to believe? That winning is everything and nothing else is important, or it's only important how you play the game, whether you're a good sport, whether you're honest. That winning, losing, that's not as important. I mean, which is it? Which is it? And so one day I got the courage to ask Major DeBias about that. about why he put those signs up. And he looked at me as if I were an idiot. And he said, you pick the one that applies to you at that time. So for instance, I think he meant, if you go out and you play baseball, say, and you lose, well, the most important thing is how well you played. The score doesn't matter. It's just how well you played. On the other hand, if you go out and you win a game, then you say, that's it. Doesn't matter how we got the win, we won. That's the only important thing.
ちょっと一回止めます。